So now to the equipment slot. All right, so to start off, put it like this. I'm running all 5 of the swords. You know, I'm a really big fan of having the option of like the utility. So in different scenarios, you'll be using different ones. So I'm the type of player who I won't say I use all the swords equally, but you know, everyone overplays, you know, Sword Feast and Fam, and I agree, it's a really great card. But once again, it's really good at stabilizing when you're on par with your opponent, or if you are ahead, it really seals the game. But if you're behind, it doesn't do that much for you. But a lot of games, I really like Sword of Body and Mind. A lot of people say it's the worst sword, you know, like some of my other friends say, well, you know, I should take out Sword Body and Mind, put in any other equipment is better than this. But once again, very often, the milling and the creation of the wolf tokens really do matter. And remember, Samut has double strike. So it's not really about milling 10 and getting wolf token. You're milling 20 and getting 2 wolf tokens. And not every deck has graveyard recursion. Like they can, if they're a graveyard recursion deck, just don't use this sword, plain and simple. But against decks that are like mainly, let's say if their commander is blue and green, you just run this and they're pretty much completely shut down. The only other thing you need to do is maybe protect your equipment itself, like as an artifact, equipment, whatnot. But we'll get on to that. So the other swords are also, you know, I'll say that actually, to take a bit more time, Sword of Fire and Ice is what I use the least, because it's a good value card. Like in Modern and in the Legacy, other formats is really good. But in EDH, I'll say like the ones I like the most would be Sword of Body and Mind. Once again, love it. Light and Shadow gives you a lot of recursion, because once again, ETB creatures, you need to get them back, and Sword of Light and Shadow gives you this. So Feast and Famine, as I spoke before, it lets you untap all your lands. It's great when you're on par or ahead, and your opponent discarding once is a pain. Discarding twice, you completely annihilate him. It's great. Sword of War and Peace, I always fetch it for this against other aggro decks, because the amount of life gain this gives you sometimes really beats, like, you know, even having a Loxodon Warhammer at times. So for the rest of these exciting equipments, go off with this first, I guess. So Hammer of Nazan, like very often, this will be the first equipment I look for, unless I need a specific protection from a color, then I'll go for swords. Otherwise, Hammer of Nazan would be first. So this deck, this card lets you make all your other equipments super good. You can play them at flash, I believe, or no, that's the other card. But anyways, whenever you play an equipment, you can automatically equip it to a creature. So very often, what you could do is play Samut at 5, and then at the next turn, you can just flash in like 2 equipments and start swinging. So Hammer of Nazan really lets you do that, and the indestructibility is really good too. Jite, on an empty board, or people who, if you play against people who can't deal with this early, once you swing in once with this, you get 4 counters. At that point, you can just go nuts. Like by the time you swing a second time, you can kill someone off completely. This allows you to win in 2 turns, because you can give +2/+2, which means +4/+4 in Samut's case. And just really, really good. And once again, Sunforger, I explained why it's in here. And also the +4/+0 is really nice, because it allows you to really hit hard due to the fact that she double strikes. Loxodon Warhammer, this was a later add-in. I really like the fact of having that trample and lifelink. And there's many different like combinations you could fetch like during actual gameplay. But this is the one that whereby if you have 6 mana to spare, this is definitely good. Next 2 ones I really like a lot as well. So Onaginata and Basilisk Collar. I have been in a lot of situations whereby I would choose one of these 2 instead of a sword, just because, you know, one gives you Death Touch, lifelink actually does matter. You know, gain 3, kill anything on the board. And Onaginata is, you know, one to play, 2 to equip. The creature has to be 3 or more power, but guess what? Samut is 3. And it gives her a trample, which is a much needed thing. What you don't want is for people to block you for days with like annoying tokens or whatnot, or recursion creatures. So trample lets you get past that. Mask of Memory, As I mentioned earlier, Sword of Fire and Ice really doesn't draw cards. If you want to draw cards, use Mask of Memory. Fire and Ice, once again, it's for flavors, for flexibility, protection of those colors. But if I really want to draw cards, I just play this guy. Swing in, double strike, draw 4, discard 2. It's like there's really nothing better. So then after that, Inquisitor's Flail. So this is also, once again, really good because it's kind of like giving a double strike, if that makes any sense. So, or if you just put it on Samut immediately as the only equipment on her, it's like a +3. So it just doubles up all your damage. Very often you can kill someone with just an Inquisitor's Flail and one other random equipment. Once again, this was a later add-on, Darksteel Plate. There are scenarios whereby people get rid of the hammer and then get rid of the commander. It's really annoying. So having this, once again, is just an option, but it's good to use.